This is the Cinematography for Actors podcast.
More than a podcast, Cinematography for Actors is a vibrant community devoted to bridging the gap between talent and crew. Each week, our show offers transparent, insightful conversations with industry leaders. We unveil the magic behind the scenes, from candid discussions about unique filmmaking processes to in-depth technical exploration. Join us in unraveling the intricacies of filmmaking, one episode at a time. It's more than just cameras and lenses. We aim to inspire, educate, and empower as we peel back the curtain on the art of effective storytelling. Now on to the episode.
Oh my gosh. Okay. We just watched the After, Misan Harriman's directorial debut. And we're here to start the hashtag after the after. My eyes are still, I cried a lot. I sobbed. Sorry, I don't know what to say because I just am thinking about the feelings that I'm feeling.
So yeah, we are here to introduce the episode of Misan Harriman's The After, that is having a wide release on Netflix, global release on Netflix on October 25th. We just had a fantastic interview, sat down to watch the screener, and he asked us to do us a favor and record us right after the screening. So this is Indiana. I'm here with Haley, who just, was
But I can't even
really feeling it.
Myself.
And we have Bree as well. Haley, what are you feeling, without giving anything away, because it's supposed to be kind of every viewer for themselves, but what are you feeling?
Yeah, I mean, I just feel overcome. It's a story of loss and how a person has to move forward after a loss that was shocking to experience alongside this person, and also about how people from the outside can affect you afterward without really knowing. You never you never know what someone's going through, and you never know how the way that you are living your life, we all have main character syndrome. We never know how that is affecting somebody else. Just for me, such a beautiful reminder to take care of everybody, and be gentle with strangers. Yeah, I think it was gorgeous. And after having spoken to Miss Han, kind of having his face in my head while we watched the whole thing, and his whole kind of very gentle demeanor, the thought that he carried this story with him for a couple of years before he was able to as he said, extract it and create something with it, that also, I don't know how it felt to him, but the idea of it feels very heavy to me. It must have been a lot for him to hold by himself for a while.
Wow. Haley and I have been best friends for a year and a half, and I've never seen her cry like this before. So, I mean, it's so powerful. Like, I'm feeling through you. So it's so powerful to see the amount of emotion on your face.
It's hard to put into words how I'm feeling, because there's so many thoughts. There's a lot going on in the world right now, and it was hard to watch that movie knowing everything that's happening. Around kids and loved ones, and everybody processes loss in a different way, and everybody heals in a different way and in their own time. And when you expect a loss or don't expect a loss, you can never really predict what happens after that. And I think holding a lot of space for people and having a lot of patience for people is important. Misan talked about the peace and space he held on set, and what a gift that was for everybody having to communicate this story. And I wonder how people will respond based off what's going on in their personal lives or what's going on in the world right now. And you can watch the film and have an experience and have your own private thoughts. And then you look around and you watch other people having their own experiences and private thoughts. And it was very beautiful. And Misan, at the beginning of our episode, talked about the privilege it is to hold a camera, and whether you are making a narrative film or a documentary or broadcasting the news, you do have a responsibility, and how you choose to take on that responsibility and share a human story will affect everybody differently. And it was hard to watch, but also I can never predict when I'm going to cry or not cry either. And I felt like, why do people cry or not cry? And it probably changes all the time depending on what you're going through and how you survive each day and moment. Maybe you need to compartmentalize surviving an experience and you deal with it later or years later. I had a death in the family this morning. There's a lot going on, and there's a lot of death happening in the world. And in this movie, our main character experiences a great loss, and you watch him feel a lot of things and think about a lot of things and process a lot of things. And it's just a reminder that how people move throughout their day too is okay, and to hold space for people to process what they're going through. All of that in addition to what Haley said, that you never know what somebody is going through, and you never know how what you're doing around them is affecting them. So to be graceful with them if they're not acting in a way you want them to. Oh yeah. I don't know.
Beautiful
I'm
words from both of you.
tired.
Yeah.
I want to mention just something about performance that really struck me, and a specific moment that I feel like I really related to. There was a moment where main character Dio is feeling his feelings, and he is holding himself, and he's not loud. You know, the a lot of the time I think that when an actor receives a script and it says this person cries or this person, you know, is feeling this deep emotion, they feel like it has to be big or loud to make an impact. And the choice here was to hold himself and just to it was very like a throaty like this for, you know, it was maybe 10 seconds of that. And for whatever reason, when I am about to cry, my throat seizes up and gets very it hurts really bad. And I found that vocalizing is the only way to keep it from hurting, but I don't always feel like moaning or something. So to hear someone do something that I have employed myself while they try to work through some pain was I don't know, just it was a choice I've never seen before, and it clearly impressed me. And you never know what people are going to relate to, I suppose, in performance as well as, you know, real life.
Wow. Yeah. I'm the only one not crying. And I feel like when the moments throughout and like the moment where like I think a lot of the like feelings really happen, which is near the end of the film without giving it away, I felt the cave like dive of emotion that would lead to crying, like the moment when you're about to like, you know, heave. I don't know. But it didn't feel fully realized, and I'm not sure if that's because I have just been so good at masking my own grief and trauma and sadness, and have more of a defensive mechanism. And so I like kind of go more stoic than anything else.
We know you have an aversion to seeming vulnerable.
Yeah, exactly.
Could be.
Especially in a group of people.
Partially be that.
Yeah. Thanks, Haley. Yeah, you do know me. No, it's not an apology. You're right. No, you're right. And so it's really interesting because like I feel a lot of upset like seeing you guys so upset. But it's this is a really incredible testament to what a directorial debut can be for some people. You know, you're about to listen to an episode with Misan where he talks about his process of transitioning as a photographer to a filmmaker, to a director, and all of the people that believed in him on this journey. And I think that's because he's so much about emotion and the narrative and storytelling that that this directorial debut is able to strike a chord because he understands humanity. He does a lot of work in civil rights, and I'm really excited for this to get out to a wide audience on October 25th because I think, like Bree and Haley are saying, no matter what you are going through, there is a note here. And whether you're on the grief side of things, of understanding grief and feeling your feelings and being able to resonate with that, or whether you're on the side of holding space for others going through that, both are true and both are valid. And I love that we have a 18-minute short that is accessible to most people on Earth that can hopefully bring some change to what's currently happening in our climate, whether it be on a personal level or on a global level. Misan, thank you so much for creating The After.
I was just thinking, a big question in my mind lately has been, how do you get people to have empathy for other people? And I don't know what the answer is. And I keep going over and over in my head, how do you get somebody to care about anything, about something? And in this short, it's such a beautiful and poetic, tight story that you can see from many different perspectives. While I was watching it, I found myself in the perspective of a few different characters, wondering what would it be like if I was in that person's shoes or that person's shoes, and the privilege it is to have the ability to either be a photographer or a filmmaker, to be able to share humanity with a mass audience is so important. And it just reminds me why I keep coming back to a love for filmmaking, because you can tell a very intimate, private story and share it with millions of people. And I don't know what other medium could get somebody to care so effectively. And I just thank you, Misan, for making this short. And also, we love filmmaking.
We love movies.
So I hope with this beautiful intro and the vulnerability of our co-hosts here that that you'll enjoy this episode with Misan Harriman. Hi, everyone, and welcome back to another episode of the Cinematography for Actors podcast. We have a very special guest with us today, photographer, entrepreneur, social activist, and director Misan Harriman is one of the most widely shared photographers of this age. He is also the first Black person in the 104-year history of British Vogue to shoot the cover of its September issue. From documenting historic moments in history to photographing high-profile celebrities, including Meghan Markle and Prince Harry, Angelina Jolie, Jay-Z, Tom Cruise, Julia Roberts, Giorgio Armani, Rihanna, Kate Blanchett, and Olivia Colman, Misan is a photographer of extraordinary range. He has been described as the most talked about photographer of our time by the Evening Standard. He also auctioned one of the most shared civil rights images in modern history with Sotheby's for charity. Nigerian born, Misan was educated in England, where he developed a lifelong love for the arts. This led him to picking up a camera and honing his craft. Now, he sits with us to talk about his directorial debut, the Oscar and BAFTA qualified short film, The After, starring David Oyelowo, releasing on Netflix October 25th. Welcome, Misan. Hello.
Hello. Hello. Thank you all for having me.
Of course. I kind of wanted to start this interview. We have Brie and Haley with me here. On your website, you have a quote by Robert Frank that says, "The eyes should learn to listen before it looks." And could you talk about the significance of that quote to you?
Yeah, a lot of people message me, up and coming photographers and some filmmakers saying, how did you in such a short period of time, just fly up? And how can they go on a similar journey? And I tell them to put the camera down, put it down and recognize the importance of the medium. And I think in this age of, face swapping and AI and Photoshop and retouching, people forget the custodianship of imagery. And I then send them a Google Drive link with all the documentaries of all the great storytellers that have allowed me to understand the privilege of holding a camera. So that quote from Robert Frank is exactly it. So although my time came when I was 40 years old, later in life, I believe my eye had been listening from birth. And when the time came, I was ready to hold a camera and tell a story.
Fantastic. That's fantastic. Now, my biggest question, so cinematography for actors, I am a cinematographer. My lovely co-founders, Brie and Haley, are both from the actor side. And so we always kind of pulling from the creative, practical, and technical for our questions that we ask our guests. And and talking about your work in photography, The After is your directorial debut, correct?
Yes.
And so we talked about the transition of like getting the camera for vacation and then becoming a professional photographer, and finding the love in that. What was the decision to transition then to make The After?
Well, a lot of people I photographed kept saying, you're a director. And my wife was the first. She was saying, look, your photography is going great, but you do know that where the world can see the culmination of everything that you are is in film. And then I shot Liam Neeson, and we were in the hills of Tuscany, I shot him, and he said that you're a filmmaker. And I was like, oh my God, this man was in Schindler's List. You know what I mean? You're like, ooh. And then,
Absolutely.
and then I shot my idol, Steve McQueen, and he said it to me as well. He's like, you are a filmmaker. And I got to meet his agent, legend, called Jenny Casarotto. She owns Casarotto and Associates in London. And I had a phone call with Jenny Casarotto, and she said, F it, I'm going to take you on. You're the first person I've ever taken on that's never made anything
Incredible.
with a moving image. And so Steve McQueen and I now have the same agent.
That's
And she,
fantastic.
Wow.
yeah.
We're manifesting big things. I love it. Now it's fantastic. Now, what do you think it was when people were saying to you, you're a filmmaker? Do you think your love of story? Is it the way that you were giving direction around taking images? What do you think was the reason?
Yeah, I think I shoot cinematically. I don't know if you've seen any of my work, but my portraiture
Yes.
is looking for humanity, is looking for truth. It's the opposite of sort of photoshopped shiny skin syndrome, right? It's not that.
Mm-hmm.
And what I became known for was my civil rights work, which is incredibly difficult work. There are no second takes. You're dealing with real human emotion, and if you can find a way to capture that in a way that doesn't feel contrived, then maybe you're onto something. I don't know if you can teach all of the skills beyond technically understanding aperture, shutter speed, ISO, lenses. There's something else that isn't intangible. I guess the best example I can give you, in a lot of the protests that I shot, I was one of 25 or 30 photographers standing in the same place. But there was something about the images that I took that spoke to people in a completely different way to the men and women that were literally standing next to me holding cameras. So there is maybe something to be said with the unspoken conversation I have with the subject and the lens that I'm holding.
Okay, we are stoked to shout out our audio sponsor, Deity Microphones. Their S-Mic 2 Pro shotgun mics have impeccable sound clarity, directionality, headphone monitoring, and a user-friendly design. And we're proud to launch our studio with them. Our goal is to bring you educational gems every episode, and with these mics, you can listen to the best quality audio possible wherever you are. To learn more about using Deity mics for your own podcasting, voiceover, or filming needs, go to deitymic.com.
Let's talk about the after. So I see when I look at the credits of who's listed, it says story by. Can you talk about how the story for the after was created, as well as what your process was like working with your writer?
Yeah, so I'm what is considered, I guess, neurodiverse on sort of the autism spectrum. So I can't spell anything. I can't write a full sentence without making mistakes. I failed every exam I ever took, dropped out of university. This is one of the reasons I thought I could never be a filmmaker. But I have fully formed stories in my head, fully formed. And I mean hundreds of them. When I met with my extraordinary producer, an amazing woman called Nikki Bentham, who made The Duke with Helen Mirren, and Jim Broadbent. And again, this is a very serious producer, and I have a phone call with her, and she's like, "Yeah, let's do it." And she suggested it being a short, and she was like, "Tell me what kind of ideas." And this was just one of the many ideas I had in my head, and she loved it. I loved it, and I dictate. I did research about directors that have similar minds to me, and like Guy Ritchie in the early days, like Lock, Stock was all recorded on tape. And that's what I did. I recorded the whole story from beginning to end in one voice note, and
Wow.
I had all the storyboards in my head fully formed. So we shopped around to meet the right writing team and writers, and we met JJ, and he's very young, and I love working with young people because the rules don't exist. and there is an elasticity to their creative process that I really appreciate. And he completely understood the vision and the story and added beautifully to it. So that's how I guess I got the credit story by.
How incredible. Wow. That's such a fantastic way to also build a really deep relationship with a collaborator as well, is that vulnerability around having to record it on that voice note and then talk through probably
Yeah.
the accents that you're having to add in for a script. So that's great. That's really cool. I know Bree and Haley were really excited to start talking about the casting process and what that looked like for this film. So I'll let them take those questions away.
Okay, great. Actually, first, I do have a question. I feel like I identify, and possibly a lot of our listeners will identify with the self-doubt that comes with neurodivergence and not believing that you can write something or do something, and also having fully formed stories in our head. I want to know how long you carried this story with you. Do you know? Remember?
Question. I think this story is really born out of the collective trauma we all had from COVID,
Mm-hmm.
because there's so much of this story that is really a companion piece to help ourselves build ourselves back up brick by
Right.
brick.
Right.
So I think it must have been born out of the kind of pseudo apocalyptic experience we all had in 2020.
Mm-hmm.
You know.
Yeah, I'm so happy that you found your way to let that out and tell it, even though it wasn't something that you initially thought you could do. Yeah, let's talk about casting.
I was wondering, how did you find your casting director, and what was the process of casting like? Did you already have people in mind, or did you audition a lot of people, or what was that communication and collaboration
Well,
like?
the lead actor role was kind of a lottery win, you know, something you can't make up. I've grown up, yeah, worshipping David Oyelowo, and I DM'd him on Instagram. And he,
Wow.
Instagram, everybody, we keep saying it's important. That is a really good way to network with people.
Were you nervous
Another
before
point.
reaching out, or were you like, just, you know what, here I go, I'm just gonna do it, it's no big deal? And what was that mental process like?
let me see what I sent him. Let me see what I sent him. I
He has the
DM'd him.
receipts.
Yeah, well, it's always interesting looking back on these things because it's such an amazing, if you look at from the first DM to wherever you end up with someone, I always find it, you know,
Right in
it's
the
sort of
beginning, it's very for me when I'm first reaching out, very clear and professional. By the end, it's a shorthand jokes and slang.
yeah. Okay, so April. Wow. Wow, April 21. Hello, brother. I would love to have a coffee one of these days. I plan to get into filmmaking soon and would love to chat. Stay well and thanks for inspiring all of us, Misan. And then
Oh,
David, Misan, I've been admiring your work. I'm so glad you reached out. Boom, 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 boom.
Did you hear back from him
It's so funny.
immediately?
He goes, I seldom check DMs. So it was just like serendipitous that happened.
fantastic.
That is so great.
Fantastic. And so finding the rest of the
The rest of the cast.
cast.
So
Yeah.
I wanted you know, a cast that represented the beautiful and diverse world that we all live in. And I was a fan of Aisha Bywaters. You know, she is a very rare thing. She's a Black woman and a casting director in the UK, which is that's just that doesn't happen. So you know, but she's doing features again. I was like, she doesn't have time, but again, she made the time, and she helped me do the rest of the casting, apart from a few very specific requests from me. So one of my best friends is a guy called Sule Rimi, who I went to school with, and we fell in love with cinema together. And we would go to cinema, you know, we would watch Last of the Mohicans and just talk about one day maybe we could do something in film. And I always said, if I ever get to make a film, you're going to be in it. So for me to call him, and he's already doing very well. He was just in Andor, and He's a great theater actor, and he's got some really big news coming out at this moment. So I called him, and it was just a very emotional phone call, and of course he said yes. Then there's Ruth Sheen. So Mike Leigh is one of my favorite filmmakers, and he was one of the many extraordinary muses, really, of, I think, one of the greatest living filmmakers. And I thought she would never, ever be interested because she's Ruth Sheen. And of course, she said yes. Alan Davis, again, these are senior sort of giants of British cinema that don't need to be doing first-time shorts. But they all kept saying yes, you know. And Nikesh Patel, again, someone I just love his work, and it's a very small role. So there are people within the casting process that I suggested, and they kind of all said yes. So that was great. And then we
Amazing.
worked closely with Aisha on some of the other roles, and of course the children as well, which was crucial, getting the kids right.
And as a photographer yourself, what was it like working with a cinematographer? What were the benefits or potential barriers? Did you guys have a shorthand in communication? Just what was that like communicating your ideas?
Sai, man. So I came across him in Peaky Blinders, and I was like, who's DOP? And so I was a fan already, and again, he was a suggestion I sent to my agent, and he said yeah, and I couldn't believe it. And he's young, he's from the north of England, he's very down to earth, and we were just finishing each other's sentences. You know, we understand lenses very well, and are quite brave. You know, I like big lenses. I am not afraid to work in lighting conditions that are unpredictable, because I think there's a magic to that as well. And so and he was just up for it. His team were amazing. His Steadicam folks were amazing, and there wasn't one friction point, not ever. And you have to understand, this film was made in the summer on a roof in harsh light, and then the other half is in a low loader. And I don't know if any of you worked on low loaders. It's not easy work.
Yeah, that's I've done that once, and that's impressive, especially for a first time, like a first short for you as well. You're like, it's almost releasing all of the you have to just trust everyone involved pretty much.
Well, yeah, and also I have no benchmark for a lot of these things. So it's sort of, I remember telling a few friends that yeah, we're going to be shooting on a low loader, and they're like looking at me saying, you sure about that, dude? I'm like, well, he's in a car. There's no other way we can do this.
Right.
And then there's also the kit, you know. So we shot it on a large format, the Red Monstro. I'm sure you know, which is ridiculous to be doing that with film, but you know, we were lucky to be able to do that.
Now, did you shoot on the Monstro because you wanted the ability to reframe and post because of resolution, or what, or was it the large format? Like,
Large
look,
format. Yeah, yeah, large format. I mean, even even though we were you know, it's a Netflix production, you know, I couldn't persuade anyone to get me the the Alexa 65.
Yeah.
I think they're like, dude, you're making a short film.
Yeah.
Hey guys,
Calm
what's
down.
a low loader?
Oh yeah, low loader.
Can we talk about that?
Yeah, Misan, do you want to take it away? I can fill in anything else.
Well, I mean, it's how, I mean, now there's that, if you've got millions, you can do it a different way, but it's how for years you filmed car scenes. So it's an articulated lorry, literally, and they put the car on the back, and they put all the camera equipment at the front, and you shoot the car with
And
the
you
driver.
drive around on the truck, and it's on a trailer.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Got it.
Yeah.
I want to know, actually, you did mention there were no friction points, but as a visual artist yourself, did you feel like there was any part of you that felt like you had to either like give away some of the visual control, or something that you really, you know, wanted to hold on to that you had to kind of let go of and trust? Or having been a fan, was it all party all the time?
Very, 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 very sure what I need to see.
That is a blessing.
Both optically, like the obvious in terms of lighting, composition, but also emotion. I'm very, very, very sure when I have it, and I'm very sure when I don't have it. So that's how I work.
Wonderful.
How much, if anything, changed from what was written in the script to what you actually shot on the day?
I would say 30% was created on the day.
We have some exciting news. CFA has teamed up with We Make Movies to get you a discount on production management services, including access to comprehensive production insurance and workers' comp for your next shoot. Visit wemakemovies.org/insurance and use code CFA23 on your intake form for 10% off your quote.
There's a lot of emotional work that you just can't script. This is impossible. You know, you can write something that you think is what you want, and then you can have a master actor that takes it to another place altogether.
Yeah.
And that's also the other thing, is when you realize you got to let go of the script real quick because you're getting magic.
Absolutely. And so how important was it with the visual language to exist within the frame to let that magic play out? Did you have to change your visual language a little because you saw a pattern?
With the frames, no, the frames were pretty, you know, Dulani, who's a great storyboard artist, I just reposted him on my Instagram, you know, giving him a shout out. We were pretty, yeah, we didn't change the frame at all, or any of the compositions. It was more how we played within it.
Right.
That had that malleability. A few things we had to do, because again, we did not shoot this thing in any kind of controlled environment. So, you know, cloud cover, harsh light, wind, blah, 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 blah. Large format that picks up molecules, basically.
Yes.
Right? So that was a bit of a headache, but we got it done. And there's some serious stunt work that we had to do with quite a lot of extras as well, which is incredibly complicated, especially for a first-time filmmaker. But I loved it.
Of course. Yeah. In the rush of it all, I imagine, with the adrenaline going, which is great.
Speaking of things happening in the frame, I would like to know, because kind of the mark of an English actor is being very in tune and very in touch, I feel, with their creative and emotional work that they do. Did you feel like there were any visual conversations you were having with your cast to make sure that what they had created was reading through the lens?
Without giving so much away, because the beautiful thing about this film is to go into it not knowing what goes down. There is a lot of emotion. And it's a type of emotion that the camera will pick it up if it isn't real.
Right.
And we're dealing with children in this as well. So it took a lot from both the leading actor and actress who are dealing with children in front of the camera, and then all of us collaboratively in rehearsals and between takes to let the emotion kind of seep into the understanding of what we are trying to do on screen, which takes time and trust. And I think, even though it's my first film, I've taken quite a few photos in my life, and I understand what trust is. You know, I shot Kate Winslet not so long ago in her house, and, you know, for the first, I don't know, 40 minutes, we didn't, you know, it was just conversations, meeting her kids and her lovely husband, and just talking movies and life. And then for the last bit, we picked up a camera and made the most extraordinary images, right? And I think there's a similar discipline with me, is to make sure humanity and empathy and social listening is in the room before we press the red button. And that's what we did.
Beautiful.
Did you discover that patience to hold space for those moments while you were filming, or did you create your shooting schedule with your first AD knowing you needed time throughout your day to have those moments? because I've been on so many sets where it's go, 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 rush, 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 make our day. And there isn't often time built into the framework of our shooting schedule to breathe and have some human moments.
Well, look, this is a 5-day shoot, so we didn't have a huge amount of time, but I think how I allow the actors to breathe in the whole collaborative process is probably one of my more unique ways of being a filmmaker. So although we didn't have, if you look at the calendar, it would look rushed and busy. It was never rushed and busy when it was articulating the direction of travel for the actors. Never, never, ever.
Wow.
That's my responsibility, to protect them from any budgetary or timing or lighting issues. Forget about that.
Yeah. And what stage of this process did you start to think about distribution or getting it out to an audience? From the beginning, did you have an idea?
I have a first look deal with Netflix, so
Cool.
it started at the beginning. I was very lucky, and a lot of people at Netflix, again, I think, took a risk with me, thinking, God, his images are lovely, and he has an intentionality about how he moves, and I think they were brave enough to go for someone like me, because I don't do light, right? I don't do comedy. I don't do sort of the pop culture stuff that is algorithmically friendly. I look to pull your heart out.
Wow.
Not always with your permission, you know?
Yes. And what was it? I mean, so obviously we don't want to give away too much to ourselves or to the audience listening. And we're excited for the release on October 25th on Netflix.
But on what I would love,
Yeah.
right? I can call you guys out here. What I would love is
Yes.
30 seconds after watching it, record a video or put it onto this podcast, and don't play with don't go to a mirror, don't look, just
Oh, you're fine. Yeah.
30 seconds, like pure, and just articulate where
Great.
this film took you to.
We
Yes.
should
You
do
got
that.
it.
And
Actually, we
post
should
it
do
and
that
include
before
it
we
as part of
leave
the
this
episode.
table.
Yeah.
Like, shoot us that screener, and we will
Yeah.
do it immediately.
Yeah.
I love
Yeah.
that
That's a great
idea.
idea.
Actually.
Well, I thought we'll add it to the beginning of the episode
Yeah.
because it's a great opener, because, you're making a film that struck a chord with so many people already and is going to when it gets
Some of the
released.
screenings, I got to tell you, we've had people. Yeah,
Can't wait.
we've had people not be able to stand up. We've had
You should watch
there's
it.
crying, and then there's wailing.
Yeah.
We've had people wailing in this.
Wow.
Wow.
So what was it like showing your close friends and family this for the first time?
I mean, I think the first person David showed it to was Oprah Winfrey, right? So I'm like, oh my God. And it's because she has such good taste and is an extraordinary filmmaker, producer, director, and actress, right? So,
Mm-hmm.
but for me, it was my wife, because she does not hold any punches, and also knows if I can push myself further. So showing her some early rushes and seeing the reaction she had made me feel like we were on steady ground, to say the least.
Fantastic.
The when it was locked and we did the cast and crew screening, that was something. That was something, because I don't know, 70 people were all in tears. And
Wow.
that's the first time that I've ever seen it outside of an editing suite, right? So it was a real cinema, and a lot of it was, yeah. So that's when I thought, oh my God, what have I done? And what, no, never really. I'm like, what have I done? Like, if this drops
Yeah.
on Netflix, are people ready for this?
Wow. Yeah.
Because it does feel a long way away from, I would say, 90% of the content on any streaming platform today. And again, you will understand why when you watch it.
Can't wait. I can't wait to open the episode with it too, because it'll be a very, if we're having reactions like this, it'll be a very striking cold open before going into our educational talk and getting people really motivated to watch it when it comes
I
out.
might start a hashtag, maybe, I don't know, a hashtag, I don't know, maybe just a hashtag
After the after.
Yeah, after the after. There we
That's
go.
good, Haley. That's really good. I like that. That's fun.
Yeah, well, you guys can kick it off.
There we go.
Because of what I think it's going to mean, and also the mental health, and because there's all these sort of awards buzz and people telling me all these things that give me anxiety, but what I have to focus on is that I've made something not to win a million awards, but to help us. And to help us to understand that if we're in a dark room and we don't know where the door is, or even if it exists, if you watch this, I can't guarantee you that it will lead you outside of that room, but it will let you know that there's a door. And that's the hope of what I've made. And to me, that's more important than winning festivals and getting nominated for things. Like, we are not okay right now, especially younger folk. I work a lot on suicide prevention and lots of other social economic things that make life very hard for people right now. And to show the kind of vulnerability I think that's on the screen in this short is something. I mean, Awards Daily, I don't know if you saw, they said that this is a film that could possibly save somebody's life. And
yes, I was just reading that before we got on the call. Yeah, I was. Yes, it's a beautiful write-up.
What a legacy. What a thing to be able to have about something you've created, to know that someone believes that.
Yeah.
We have all filmmakers of all stages in their career that listen. Could you speak to the process of getting a first look deal with Netflix? When in your career did that come about? And what does that mean for you when you finish a project?
Well, I think for me, it was a very interesting time. A lot can change quite fast in the film industry. And I had some great people that I was lucky to be introduced to that all were fans of my photography. I mean, I think the thing that helped me is at that point, even 18 months ago, 2 years ago, I was, if not the most visible photographer in the world, definitely up there. So there was that. And then I met with legends in the game, who some are no longer at Netflix, but they are incredible. Lisa Nishimura, Tendo, and then Fiona Lamptey, who was my commissioning exec in Netflix UK, and they all understood that I'm different. Like, this isn't like someone that you can get to make anything that's kind of cookie cutter. This is someone that's gonna really, even though it's his first film, it will have a level of emotional nuance that you don't always see. And I think they knew that from the beginning, and they held steady and said, Misan, if you are telling us you want to try and become one of the great filmmakers, we kind of seen what you've done with photography. So we're not going to argue with you. Let's see what's the worst that can happen, right? And I think that's how it happened, if I'm being, totally honest with you.
One thing I love about that is the expanding career. Not like a lot of topics we have are pivoting careers and not feeling like it's one career and a separate career, but it's one ever expanding one, and everything piggybacks off the last. So just because you want to do something else, but you're in this current lane, you can always expand and do that other thing.
Absolutely. I mean, I see them as the same thing. For me, it's storytelling. It's just using different mediums. So.
Yeah. That's wonderful. Now, I want to start wrapping things up. But most importantly, what is next for you?
Well, the industry is being very kind to me, and I'm meeting lots of extraordinary people. I'm lucky I'm at the stage of life I am, so I'm trying not to be, a moth to a flame, and hold steady and really look for stories that I want to tell. So I'm reading a lot of scripts. I have many stories in here. I need to team up with good folk to make sure that's extracted in due course. So I'm looking at multiple TV and film projects with some great people, and hopefully I will make my first feature sooner than later. For now, we're on this sort of awards journey, and Netflix are very kindly putting this film forward for both the Academy and BAFTA consideration. So we'll see how. I've never been on that kind of journey, so lots of screenings and things like that, and Q&As, and we'll see what the jurors make of this film.
Fantastic. Well, we're very excited to watch it right after this, and we are very excited for the rest of the world to experience it on October 25th on Netflix for its global release. We will be starting the hashtag at Cinematography for Actors.
Hashtag after the after, everyone.
Yep.
Don't forget to use that after you watch.
Yes,
Yes,
exactly.
yes.
And Misan, we are very, very, very thankful that we had some time with you today to chat about your career, your visual style, as well as the after. Thank you so much for joining us.
My absolute pleasure. My absolute pleasure.
Join us in bridging the gap between talent and crew. Start by subscribing on your preferred podcast platform, sign up for our newsletter to stay up to date on vendor discounts, community events, and new podcast releases, and educate yourself through our free course releases on YouTube. It all starts at cinematographyforactors.com. And if you like this episode, consider leaving a review to make it easier for other listeners to find us.